best way to keep the fabric taut in the hoop. No matter how hard I try, I can't get it tight enough. I think what she's doing, or he is doing, is actually not having the outer ring tight enough when you set it up. So if this is too loose to start with, it will just cling on. So that's too loose. So I would actually just turn that a couple of times, and then it should just hang on like that before you set it up. So I hope that works for you, Hagani. Please get back to me on that one. So Monica has written in on an email saying she hopes we are well, home embroidery is getting better, but going around a curve she still has a problem with the blue line showing around the edge. Well, Monica, go back over the blue line, keep stitching layer upon layer until you get rid of that blue line. Always think of stitching beyond the line, just over it, not to it, otherwise you get that awful 5 o'clock shadow. So another question, this is from Laura Benedict. Should I lightly press the shipping folds out of the linen before I start, or will they fall out as I work? Well, if you followed my method of mounting the frame with the linen using a saran wrap, cling film, that type of thing, or if you use a bound frame, you will find that you mount the frame and the folds will come out. Never iron your linen before you do it, and especially not with a steam iron, because you might glaze it with your iron, and you really want the effect of the water to block it afterwards. So leave it alone and just get on with your stitching, and I promise it'll be all right. Somebody called Ace Berry said, "Dear Philippa, how is the pattern so detailed and perfectly transferred onto the fabric? Is it done by a machine? I have drawn a little pattern myself and want to transfer it as a repeat pattern on a large piece of the curtain inspired by Chelsea Textiles fabric. How can I do it? Would you say that is too ambitious for a beginner?" Now, I don't at all. I think you can do whatever you like. You can either freehand draw it in pencil, which I do, or you could have it printed by a fabric screen printer. So I suggest if you want to produce something yourself, you look for a fabric or a textile printer in your area, and they will screen print them for you. So it is quite expensive, but it's worth it. What is the fabric you're stitching on? Do you use a backing fabric? No, absolutely don't use a backing fabric. It did not have cotton. Most of the designs I do, they did not have cotton. They didn't have access to cotton pieces. They didn't use muslin behind it. The actual fabric is thick enough, so please don't use any backing fabric, because that'll shred your wool, and the needle, you need a different needle for different fabrics. So if you have a backing fabric, it might not be compatible with the linen. When she frames something, would she put a piece of glass over it? No, I wouldn't, because to me that's like an incubator for the bugs that love it. They look in there and they think it's great. You could only really have a glass frame if you have a framer who knows about absolutely sealing the piece in so it's totally bug proof, which is absolutely possible, but you want to be aware that it's got to be framed to a far higher standard than just jamming a piece of glass over the top. So I noticed that use your wool doubled. Should I be doing this in my general crewel work, as I only use my wool in single? Right. If you are making long and short soft shading and you want the hummocks to sit out proud, or the top of the stag there to sit out, that is double. In fact, that is double thread there, worked again with a single over the top. So it's actually got, in effect, 3 layers of single. So yes, for some smaller designs, it might be very beautiful, and yes, you can use single, but try double, but try and get the edges really close together, so the perimeter of your shape needs to be really gorgeous. So if you don't manage that, go over again in single. So wool tension, Kimberly. I'm getting my hands accustomed to working with Appletons before I move on to the bedspread. Ooh, she's doing the Muncaster bedspread. I tend to have a tight tension, please advise. Is this fine, or do I need to work looser? In the frame it looks good, but I want to avoid puckers. I want to avoid puckers as well, Kimberly. I think that's a little bit of trial and error there, and perhaps work a small piece and take it on and off the frame and see where it goes and see just how tight. But if the frame is too loose, you won't hear that lovely tap of the needle going through. It needs to sound hollow,
literally like a drum.
So next week I want you to make sure that you send me in your top tips and the things that have helped you, and really would like to know that these little video clips are helping you, and you know why. Thank you very much.